Fine. So in the last class, we solved a couple of problems. One was related to the spherical object, the flow across a spherical object and flow across a cylindrical pipe. And we have seen how to proceed on those problems. The essential part or the bottom line was that somehow we try to find out what is the average Nusselt number from where we can calculate what is the average convective heat transfer coefficient. Now to do that, based on the operating conditions or operating temperature, pressure, and existing parameters, we had to find out the appropriate correlation from where we can get those Nusselt number values for that typical shape of the object and the condition of the flow. For example, the limits of Reynolds number and Prandtl number. And then once we have it, we simply calculate the heat transfer rate. The same procedure has been followed in the next part as well. That is the spherical object problem. But now, see, the scenario is different. The scenario is that, say, we have tube banks, which is, say, we have an ordered arrangement of some cylindrical tube, which is, say, perpendicular to the computer screen, its flow direction. Okay, and these are the cross-sectional view, say the front view of the cross-section. Okay. So say the flow direction which are flowing inside the tube, that is, we call the internal flow. That is fine. So inside the fluid, inside the tube, some fluids are flowing. Those are the internal flow. But the point is that now you consider the scenario where outside this or outside such arrangement, the flow is there. Say the flow is upward by some external fluid, or say we have external flow on this arrangement. Okay, so when it comes to the individual tube, we have seen how to calculate the average Nusselt number. Fine. But now we have an arrangement of several pipes or tubes over which the flow is happening. Okay. Now the classical example of such arrangement is that, say, a shell and tube heat exchanger, where you have an envelope or enclosure. In this part, in this part, inside, this is called the shell part, where you have a fluid that is flowing of different temperature than the fluid that is flowing inside the tube. So say your objective is to cool down a fluid. The fluid that are flown inside these internal pipes, or say the internal flow through these tubes. Now say you have a hot fluid that is flowing in these highlighted tubes. You are trying to cool it down. So what will happen outside this arrangement? There is a fluid with a lower temperature. Okay, if that is flown, okay, external convective flow will happen, and then what it does, it actually exchanges the heat between the inner fluid and the outer fluid. This kind of arrangement we typically say or call as a shell and tube heat exchanger.
So, sir, there is a partition between like the both the fluids.
There are, right. So this is a simplified version. Now, in order to hang these or in order to hold these pipes, there are several arrangements. In further, in addition to that, there may be some this kind of a baffle. We call those are the baffle. Say we have this kind of arrangement where the flow, if that is coming from this side, okay, then we ensure that when it passes, it goes through, say, the maximum length or maximum travel path it follows, so that the contact time between this cold and the hotter liquid is enhanced. In addition to that, introduction of baffles or such arrangement, even without baffle, we basically induce turbulence in the flow. Okay, and this turbulence, we have seen, it increases the heat transfer rate. It increases the mixing in the shell side fluid. So once the shell side fluid mixes well, it becomes a more homogeneous temperature throughout that shell side, and the efficient heat transfer process takes place. So all these designs and all these things we will see later. We have a separate chapter on the heat exchanger design and all this stuff. But the point is that when flow over such arrangement takes place, the simplified arrangement is this thing. The bank of tube, a bank of tube over which this is happening. So the scenario is not simple as we have done for a single tube, okay, or say a blunt object lying on a flow field. We have a bit different scenario. So the scenario is different from the internal flow. Say you had to calculate the flow, the internal flow resistances, internal flow details, and all these things for through a particular tube. And if you increase the tube number n, we typically multiply the overall calculation by the number of tubes. But in this case, in such external flow, that is not a straightforward approach. It doesn't work like that. The simple reason is that the flow field changes. Say the flow is happening from this to this side. So once the flow passes this object, okay, then in the downstream, in order to, I mean, if these tubes are closely spaced, okay, so these columns, they are closely spaced, or say even the rows are closely spaced, then the flow field one, it crosses the first column, is basically influenced by the presence of the neighbor column or the bank of tubes. So the flow pattern and turbulence level changes. So in such case, or in such scenario, how do we estimate this heat transfer, convective heat transfer coefficient, or so the heat transfer rate? Okay, so for such arrangement, the arrangement that I have shown here, it is a very simplified arrangement, or say inline arrangement. Okay, so we can call this is the inline arrangement. The other arrangement, what could have been, or say one of the possible way is that say we have And now so this one is, say, the inline, everything is in line horizontally as well as vertically. But here, this one, when the flow is, say, in this direction, then the next column, or say the second column, is not actually in line, but is staggered. Say we are dealing with all the tubes that is having a diameter capital D. This scenario or this arrangement we call as the staggered arrangement. And this is the inline arrangement. Fine. So typically such arrangement has couple of parameters that we can vary, or say the characteristic of this arrangement. One of such is that, say, if I mention that the distance between these two columns is, say, the space, A stands for the space, also the pitch in the longitudinal direction. So then that means there is a transverse direction, and the distance we say that it is ST. Fine?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And say the cross-sectional area, okay, the flow area rather, the flow area, if I define or say this one is A1 between, I mean, exactly at the entrance, and in between it is AT. That is in between the tubes. This is the maximum cross section, the area, flow area that is initially available. But then when it enters, the minimum area through which it will pass is this AT. Okay, so usually what happens? This arrangement you can change if you change only SL and ST. That means the transverse pitch and the longitudinal pitch. Okay, and so that means the diagonal distance in between these two, the SD, if I say, that can easily be calculated or written. The diagonal distance is SL square, okay, plus what?
ST square.
ST square. Is that?
Hello.
Yes.
Yes, sir. SL square plus ST square under root.
The diagonal pitch that we typically define is that the relation between the transverse pitch and the longitudinal pitch. Okay. Between the, so this is the distance or the diagonal distance between the two tubes or the two columns of tubes. From the, it's basically center to center difference. Now the point is that this area, the initial area that is available for the flow, okay, it is ST minus D, because we have half of the tube diameter that is covered with ST. So ST minus D multiplied by the length of the tube. That is, initially we have AT, not SF, AT. This one. And A1 would be ST multiplied by L.
Yes, sir.
Now, how do we calculate Reynolds number in this case? Because that is one of the primary parameters that we have to find out, because we have to use an appropriate correlation that is available for finding the average Nusselt number. Because in this case also, like the previous case, we have a set of correlation for various ranges of Reynolds number and the Prandtl number. But the question is now here is that how do we calculate the Reynolds number in this case? So Reynolds number. How do we calculate that for such arrangement? Can anyone prompt?
We should take the length as n times SL.
So say if I go from the very basic, so Reynolds number we will calculate based on the tube diameter, because it's an external flow. So like the particle Reynolds number, the way we have calculated, also the Reynolds number in other cases, when the flow is over an object, spherical object. So the Reynolds number based on the tube diameter. So that we write typically rho VD by mu. Now the question is, for the flowing fluid, rho is known, mu is the physical property, D is known. So what is the V that we will use here?
To make the flow turbulent.
Which V we will use? That is the question. Or what is the V? Is there the approach velocity that we would use, like we have used in the other case, when there is a single object? Do you think the velocity of this free stream and velocity when it passes through this arrangement or inside this arrangement, would that be same in steady state scenario?
No, sir.
Why?
Because while the fluid is approaching, the cross-section area is large, and when it is leaving, it is small.
Absolutely. So that means we have to apply, say, our
Mass
mass
conservation.
conservation of mass. That means rho V A1, it should be the rho, say V1 A1 is equals to rho V2 and AT, because I have shown you clearly that this is the minimum, maximum cross section, maximum flow area available, and this is the minimum flow area that is available for the flow. So that means the velocity V2 would be maximum. If I say V2 instead of V2, if I write Vm, it would be more appropriate in this case. This V Reynolds number is the Vm or the V maximum, based on which we will calculate the Reynolds number. So for this inline arrangement, okay, what is if this is the incompressible flow, okay, then what would be the scenario? That Vst is basically the V maximum or the Vm St minus D. Agreed?
Yes, sir.
So our V max is basically the transverse pitch divided by the transverse pitch minus the tube dimension multiplied by the approaching or the free stream velocity. If we go by our previous convention, that is the V infinity. Clear?
Yes, sir.
Now in case of staggered arrangement. So in case of staggered arrangement, you tell me that what is the maximum velocity.
It will be how the area is
here,
half.
let me, those who didn't get it, let me show them the point is that this is the again the same distance we are mentioning as SL. This is again the ST. Okay, and this center to center difference is our ST, the diagonal pitch. So here, similar to our inline arrangement, this initial area that is available, say A1, this space is AT. Okay, and then this diagonal area that is available is the AD. So this would actually be here. Yeah. So these diagonal distances are basically AD. And the diameter of the tube is capital D. The fluid is approaching with a velocity V and say certain temperature. So as per our understanding, A1 is STL. AT, similar to our previous understanding, is T minus D multiplied by L. AD, okay, we can write SD minus D multiplied by L. Okay, so here the controlling, the tube arrangement controlling parts are similar to previous discussion that we have here SL, ST and SD. These three things you can control. for this arrangement. So consider the scenario that these columns are closely spaced rather than the rows, or the other way. These are the two possibilities that can happen. And in those cases, what would be the maximum velocity? So the scenario is that what you have, see here, the flow, once it comes and wraps around a particular tube, it would go in this way, okay, and also it is passing through the AT. The flow area that has been reduced, or that we got from the distance between two consecutive rows. Okay, so once flow crosses, the flow can go in the 2 times AD direction, or 2 times AD area.
I didn't understand this.
So you understand this flow path, right? So when you have, say, two closely spaced tube banks or tubes, the flow wrapping is something like this, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so and then here you have this kind of staggered arrangement. So the flow can then go in this direction. This is the AT, okay, and this is the distance, that is AD. And this is your AT, the red one. Isn't it? So this is the flow area through which the flow can pass once it crosses this AT portion or AT area, which is this one.
Okay,
and
sir.
these are AD. So the point is, if we have a scenario 2 times AD is greater than AT, then the maximum velocity will occur at AT. Fine.
Yes, sir.
Everyone got this point? So then calculation remains same, because this is how we calculated the maximum velocity through the AT portion. But if now the scenario you visually conceptualize this point, that now we have a closely spaced in the vertical direction, the distances are closely spaced. So somehow it has happened that AT is much larger than 2 times of the diagonal distance or 2 diagonal areas. This scenario can happen, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
So that means in this case, we have to calculate, this is ST minus D. This is the scenario. that this can happen?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so in that case, the velocity we will accordingly calculate. The Vmax would be St just by the same understanding multiplied by the V free stream. But in this case, what would be the SD? What is the value of SD in staggered arrangement? Is it the same?
No, sir. It will be under root SL square plus ST square by 4.
T square by 4. Absolutely. So that would be, if I write it in a different color. So in that case, SD would be S T square plus, SL square, because the transverse thing remains same. So okay, so sorry. So this is the half of the ST that will be here, and this is the SL remains same, right? So SL square plus ST by 2 square. Agreed?
Yes, sir.
So this calculation or these calculations you have to be you have to do carefully, because then you can calculate what is your Reynolds number depending on the dimension that is given for such arrangement. So if this is inline, the situation is relatively straightforward than the staggered case. And even in staggered case, there can be two different scenarios. For one, the calculation is identical to that of the inline calculation. In other case, you have to be a bit careful, because once you calculate that, then you have a similar situation like we had earlier. That means now you can calculate the Nusselt number Ht by K in the form of to the power m Prandtl number to the power n and Prandtl number of the surface. This is the correction factor, where C is a constant value, M and N are the indices that depends on the Reynolds number. So you will have a scenario, okay, there what will be there, that the case is that that you actually will have a table where you will see that there is a various Nusselt number for a particular value of say Prandtl number. There is a variation of Nusselt Reynolds number, which is something like this. that inline and staggered arrangement for a range of Reynolds number, and the Prandtl number range for such relation uh, is that it is 0.7 to 500. And when this particular table is valid, when the number of tube bank, or this number of tube consists of n greater than 16. These are all again empirical relation. Because analytical solution of such problem is not trivial, it's difficult. So we depend on this proposed correlation or given correlations for this operating range. So typically the Prandtl number falls within the range. And once you calculate the Reynolds number based on this maximum velocity and the tube diameter, you check those values, you get the average Nusselt number relation either for the inline or for the staggered configuration from such table or the given relation. For the staggered arrangement, if you look at these last two values, you would see that STSL, this combinations or this transverse pitch and the longitudinal pitch, those further are introduced for the higher value of Reynolds number when in the turbulent range. Now in this case, everything, all the parameters, all the properties except this TSR term, the Prandtl number at the surface. Okay, everything, all the properties are calculated based on the mean temperature, which is the inlet, the fluid that is coming in, inlet, the fluid that is going out of this whole arrangement, the exit divided by 2. It is not, again, remember, in all the cases, in all these whole points we are discussing, the fluid on the cell side, if you consider this arrangement as of a shell and tube heat exchanger. The velocity that we are talking about is the cell side velocity that is flowing over the tube banks. So it may have a temperature that is Ti or the T inlet. And when it goes out of this whole arrangement, it has a temperature T exit. It is not the fluid that is flowing inside the temperature, inside these tubes. So all the properties that you will look for from the table for using this correlation or using this correlation based on the mean temperature of the system or the cell side fluid. And quite logically, the Prandtl number at the surface is based on the values of surface temperature. So now the further question can be, okay, this is what you have mentioned is for number of tubes when this is more than 16, either for inline or for staggered configuration. 16 or more rather. So what about if I have 16 bars which are lower than the number 16? Are these relations valid in such cases, or what is to be done? Okay, the point is, yes, this relation further can be used. Okay, but then you have to modify it with a correction factor. Okay, so if I now consider this relation for number of tube that is lesser than 16, then my relation would be Nusselt number based on the tube diameter, and for this NL is basically F, which is a correction factor, and the Nusselt number that you can use, or expressions that are given here in all the cases. Now again, these correction factor values are typically given or known. For Reynolds number greater than 1000, the correction factor values typically vary from, say, tube. If I have one single tube, two tubes, 3, 4, 5, 7, like this, then for the inline arrangement, the correction factor value is kind of 0.7. For the staggered, it is 0.64, 0.8, 0.76. So the point is that we have again certain relation or even the correction of existing relations that has been provided by several scientists. And yeah, so these are the typical values. It doesn't change for a bit. So after this kind of value, it's either for the staggered or for the inline cases, this correction factor remains same. That is the 0.99, because it actually moves closer to the 16 values. Before this, that at a substantially low number, which is 4, 3, and all these things, we have a bit moderate values of the correction. Now, the point is that, so once we have Nusselt number, so is this clear that for the bank of tubes, how do we estimate Nusselt number and subsequently the average heat transfer coefficient? Any question on this part?
So this number n is the number of tubes placed horizontally or the total number of tubes?
Total number of tubes in the bank.
Okay, sir.
The way you can arrange either inline or staggered. And based on this arrangement, you would pick one of these correlation for finding out the average Nusselt number.
Like for the value of n is equals to 1, means there is only one tube.
One tube, single tube, like what we have studied earlier.
So
it should have
the calculation by this thing and for the previous class we have done, so it should match.
Kind of, but in order to make a generic thing, in order to see, these are, as I mentioned, see, once people have proposed these values or these things based on their experiments for tube banks higher than 16, but then people would try to use a single correlation for all the possible places in order to avoid any complexity or to remember multiple equations or multiple correlations. Okay, so there would be some error definitely when you fall back to the only one or two tubes arrangement.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so definitely there would be error. It would not be what we have seen earlier. But again, in order to have or apply their developed relation for a wide range of scenarios. So these correction factors are typically proposed. It's not necessary we definitely use, but the point is that how we can use These are the way. So
Yes.
now the point becomes, yeah. Okay. So now the point becomes that, okay, we have the average heat transfer coefficient value. We know it. Then how do we estimate the rate of heat transfer? What is our usual approach? How do we do that? We simply apply the Newton's law of cooling, the HA delta T.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now here the question is, what is my delta T?
I think it is the difference between inlet and outlet temperature.
Usually, okay, what you are suggesting, the delta T, the purpose of having this kind of arrangement is what? The idea stems from that we have to cool down or we have to change the temperature of this inner fluid. Okay.
Yes.
So that means this surface temperature, and if we consider the inner fluid and this pipe is sufficiently thin enough so that it immediately reaches the bulk fluid temperature or the surface temperature. Fine. So the logical thinking of del T could have been that, okay, I have a surface temperature and the mean temperature of the cell side fluid. And this mean temperature means it is T inlet plus T outlet divided by 2.
Okay, sir.
This is the logical thinking, okay, based on the purpose for which we are doing it. But if we use this del T, what is seen here that this heat transfer rate would be much higher than what is actually happening. Okay, so we will see that why we do that and why this del T is not proper. But the point here, let me introduce the term or the phrase called the LMTD, or the logarithmic mean temperature difference. Logarithmic mean temperature difference, which is very, very important in the temperature difference calculation for shell and tube heat exchanger. And it is defined in this way, is that del T L in, this is the convention we typically write, or someone writes LMTD completely, okay, is the temperature difference at the exit, or basically the two temperature differences between the inlet and exit cases. So this is the surface temperature of the inner tubes, or the tubes rather. So this is the tube temperature minus the temperature of the cell side fluid that is going out on the exit temperature. Okay, so we are having a difference here. We are having a difference at the inlet, and now the differences between those two differences, temperature, two different temperatures. That is the numerator divided by logarithmic value of these two differences. It is called, so that means this is the temperature difference at the inlet or at the outlet. That would depend whether the cell side fluid temperature is higher or lower and all these things. And ln of del TE by del TI. Or one can rearrange also in this way. Fine.
Sir, would this TS be a constant for
Yes.
all the tubes?
Yes. So that is the assumptions we are doing here. Say the point is the purpose of having selective heat exchanger is that you have produced a fluid, or you have a fluid that is of a higher temperature or at lower temperature. You have to cool it down, or you have to increase its temperature. So those fluids are typically flown inside the tubes, and you have a coolant, or say some steam. Usually the coolant is water. It is easily available. So water is flown at normal temperature, or it's pushed through this bank, or steam is passed to this bank if you had to heat it. So when you have a bulk fluid that has to be cooled down or heated, we consider those temperatures are basically those are distributed along the these tubes, okay, and is of uniform temperature.
Okay, sir.
Fine. So the heat transfer rate that we can determine is basically Q dot is equals to HAS, okay, multiplied by del T ln or ln, okay, where AS is basically number of tubes pi dl. Is the heat transfer surface area. Now this thing is also equals to mCp delta T, which is exit minus inlet. So sometimes we use this relation, but in this case, we have to know what is the total mass flow rate. And sometimes we use this relation to find out what is the LMTD from this expression. And again, sometimes it is more convenient to use only this expression because it doesn't require the calculation of LMTD. Okay, any question? Any question till this point?
No, sir.
Okay, so if there is no question, I will stop here today. And as I mentioned, tomorrow, both the classes, that is from 11 to 1, I will